It's almost like it's World War III. Maybe we should plan accordingly. Or maybe wait and see. We'll be the last ones to leave. Hey, it's almost like it's World War III. Maybe we should plan accordingly. Or maybe wait and see. We'll be the last ones to leave. It's almost...
All right, CIA and MI6 chiefs warn of an unprecedented threat to world order from China and Russia and claim that Putin has already come very close to using nukes in Ukraine. Now, I don't think there's any doubt here that, of course, our world order is definitely a threat. There is a debate, of course, in our community. Who is actually that threat? Is it actually Putin? Is it Xi? Or is it somebody above them? In fact, is it somebody who's probably shaking hands with everybody? But again, it's up to the individual on what you may think. As far as British and American spy chiefs, they have warned that of what could be called an unprecedented range of threats to the international order from China and Russia at a period of heightened conflict and polarization. MI6 Chief Richard Moore and CIA Director William Burns told an audience at an event in London on Saturday that war, sabotage, and alignment of autocratic leaders are among the mounting threats to Western hegemony. It says that they cited difficulty in de-escalating conflict in Ukraine and the elusive goal of peace in the Middle East and the rise of China in the challenges ahead. Now, mind you, a lot of the things that are going on right now, many look at and go, what the heck is happening? With agencies like this, how are there so many events happening inside of our country that essentially look like they are kind of sabotaging ourselves? It really seems like there is a goal to actually have our entire system change where it is more included in everything and, of course, basically have an order of a really, really big scale kind of take over. Not have the U.S. be number one, but be kind of everybody be a number one kind of thing. It says Burns, of course, CIA Director 68, revealed that Vladimir Putin's saber rattling very nearly saw the use of tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine in late 2022, urging that there is still a genuine risk to the Russian threat despite its difficulty in Ukraine. Burns also warned of the growing and troubling defense relationship between Russia, China, and Iran and North Korea. He said that threatens both Ukraine and Western allies in the Middle East. Moore, 61, of course that's the MI6 guy, added that it would be wrong to confuse a tight grip on power with a stable grip. In Russia's case, suggesting that Russian intelligence had gone a bit feral, describing sabotage operations across Europe as reckless as relations sour. Now, mind you, sabotage operations, when people think of that, they might think of something like Nord, right? With Nord, there has been a debate for a pretty long while, but most people that I have talked to do not say that they believe that Vlad did it to himself. Most people believe, in fact, in our community that somebody over on this side of the water may have done that, right? And of course, now other countries in the last month have been talking about, things that happened with Germany and Poland and people stopping people from investigating and all of these kind of things. And of course, we've had world-class journalists basically say what they think, and obviously most people believe the along the lines of that rather than, of course, the official story. But as far as this goes, you've got MI6 and CIA telling us that the world order is at threat. Is that scary in the terms of, CIA and MI6 are warning us? Or do you think specifically these people are warning us, so what's about to happen next? What kind of operation is happening right now where they are telling us this? It's a big question, and we're going to ask it along with many others tonight when we cover all of the current events. Stick around. We'll be right back. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Hey, it's almost like it's World War III. Maybe we should plan accordingly, or maybe wait and see. Be the last ones to leave. Hey,
all right, we got a lot to go over in a short amount of time. Before we get started, remember you have a full bibliography over on our website. All you have to do is go over and find today's thumbnail. All you have to do is look for this Judgment Day coming inching closer and closer. Click on that, and it will bring you to this page. Of course, this has a full bibliography, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. That way you have hands on every single source. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, so let's go over Iran threatens nightmare for Israel as UN watchdog warns Tehran.
You know, it's just about the time that all of this has fallen off the radar, at least from the minds of the common person that would be picking things up in the news and the media coverage of it. And now they're bringing it back up, and bringing it back up, meaning Iran is still talking about this whole notion of launching an attack on Israel. And they basically, in the quote today, called it the nightmare attack. The commander of the IRG forces there, Houthi Salami, said the nightmare of Iran's inevitable response is shaking Israel day and night. So as we've reported, they had said everybody expected them to retaliate quickly. We even said we didn't expect them to necessarily retaliate quickly because it's not their MO. Their MO is to sort of wait. And when you don't think they're going to do it, they're going to do it. But the U.S. has moved carriers into the location, including taking carriers out of the South China Sea, leaving nobody from a carrier strike group point in the South China area. They're all in the Middle East now, whether they're near the Persian or up in the Mediterranean. And everybody's sort of sitting, waiting for this retaliatory strike to happen. And that may be part of what their strategy is. There's a couple of thoughts on this. One could be they're holding out till they can get their nuclear capability, or maybe they already have it and they're just waiting for the right time to use it. Others are suggesting they're just building up more and more ammunition and weapons on their with their groups along the borderlines to make a massive launch. And then others are saying, hey, they're just stringing this out to leave everybody hanging, in the sense that everybody's going to be wondering, like, is today the day? And as time tells, like, people forget, and then they have to bring it back up. And that's what they're doing right now. They're making sure everybody is reminded that they're still coming.
And, of course, the warnings from the same people that are also brought up the same day that, of course, China announces these joint drills with Russia. You have, of course, Burns and MI6 leaders, speaking and getting put out there with these MSM articles talking about the MI6 chief and, of course, the CIA director. The CIA director, by the way, has been the one who has traveled to different places in the world before major events have happened. Now, you could say that's because this major event was already going to happen. And, of course, they send the CIA because they have the most capabilities out of any agencies, because they really can pretty much do anything they want, a lot of stuff without oversight. They don't have to get approval for a lot of things. They just do it under the table. They do it secretly. They have done this time and time again, just as MI6 and Mossad and all these other groups have as well. KGB, or what is now the what is the FSB, the new version of KGB, whatever. There's all these different 3-letter agencies and 5-letter agencies that are all about doing these secret operations. Heck, they take over whole countries. They change regimes. They do regime changes all the time. We just covered a piece that went over not only all of the declassified, but some of the theorized regime changes that have happened in the last 50, 60 years, most of which happened through the U.S. So with all of this, keep in mind, with the operations and the things that are happening right now, you have to keep an open mind. When you live in the USA, of course, there's certain thoughts that, you can't avoid having right now. But what's really crazy right now is everybody's talking about, different influencers and different people being pro-Russian, right? But what they're calling pro-Russian is basically anything that doesn't just believe everything the U.S. is saying. There are some things that they're saying that essentially states that if you question the United States, that you're essentially, pro the other side. But as I've clarified, by questioning the United States, I'm not pro-Russian, pro-China, or anything like that. My view is that the most patriotic thing you can do is to keep a close eye on the people running the country. As far as the decisions they're making affect all of us. And if you stop questioning, that's like stopping caring about it. We should all care about what is happening in our country, and we should all be asking questions. Because if we stop asking questions, they stop giving us answers. Now, they're already bad enough at giving us answers, but with this Middle East thing going off, it's kind of crazy to think that there's a good chunk of people right now that are, to the point where everybody on social media is now on a different side. One thing I have seen a lot of, and you can go to X right now, and I will say this. Back when they did that interview with the BBC of Elon Musk, and the guy said, well, I've seen a lot of, hatred on the platform and whatever. At that point, I really didn't see what he was talking about. And I was like, BS. Basically, Elon said, okay, give me an example. The guy couldn't give him a single example because it wasn't. I almost think that at that point, Elon was like, okay, let's just lax up things and let's show you what actual, bad stuff is. Now, one thing I've noticed is that there really is people that are getting so angry, and I think it is because we've been put in a position where they're constantly talking about one person or one people or another people, so much so that now people are starting to react. People are starting to kind of push back. Now you have people talking about countries. You have people saying the like really horrible things, like actually horrible things that even the most unaccepting, closed-minded person would say. Times that by 20,000. That is what is being said right now, and it's on all sides. It is this color versus that color, young versus old, this religion versus that religion, and it's been like that for a while. But now people are agreeing with it. There'll be a really, really horrible thing being said, and then I see hundreds of people agreeing with it. And I'm thinking, this was manufactured. Like, this was pushed. People got so fed up. Now they're starting to go, yeah, well, you know what? Screw you too. And that's really scary when you get to the point where it looks like there's going to be like a massive revolt in the entire planet. Every country is pushing back. Every country is going against what we've really had kind of as this acceptable moral kind of red line, and everybody is just throwing that on the back burner right now. And this is just a couple months before they're already predicting that we're going to have nationwide events, that this country, Iran, is going to possibly do something. They have this nightmare attack plan, not only for Israel, but also for the U.S. And it's like, I feel like there's a big setup here, and I think a majority of your friends and family are not going to be prepared for what is about to happen. So I really hope people see what is happening right now and some of the things that are being said. I've never seen so much pushback. Like, everybody knows that there's kind of been this reverse thing where people have been saying that it's all about, everybody being on the same, spot on the playing field. But now it's like reverse. Now one people or groups are being hated back. And it's like, that's just the reverse of what you're saying that they did to you. Well, now everybody's pushing back. People are saying things they would never say. I mean, it's everywhere now. People are just people are getting set off right now. And it's like they lit the fuse and they're going to let it go boom. And then they're going to collect the parts afterwards from their mansions and from their protected neighborhoods with security and police, at the same time as telling us all that, nobody needs weapons, nobody needs this, but we do to protect our gated neighborhoods, and we do for security to take us around. It seems to me like when you have CIA and MI6 directors traveling the world, something is about to go down. They keep talking about nuclear. They're not letting us forget it. Like Dex said, they're bringing it up for a reason. This is all being reminded. So I apologize for the rant, but I really do think that this is important. We have less than 2 months, and I think that people are going to see that this is going to be much bigger than what we even think in this community. I don't think that most of us can wrap our heads around how big this is about to be. And I'm praying that I and everybody else that is saying this is wrong. I really do. And I pray that I have my foot in my mouth and they're saying everything was a nothing burger. It's all peaceful and nothing bad happened. All right, Dex, why don't you go over Iran wants Israelis to worry about Hezbollah has a rare and powerful EMP.
Okay, we've reported this before. And so we talked about the fact that they had said they had EMP technology that they had given there. So the scuttlebutt or the conversation in the air media and other locations is that's continuing to circulate at a greater level, saying that the Hez organization, which I think we also talked about the Houthis having it too at one point, now have this type of capability. Now, what we said is that, hey, this is not the same thing as a high altitude EMP. And that is now what's being said in this article. It does say that they're suggesting that what they have are non-nuclear, and I'm going to read this word for word, non-nuclear EMP weapons, devices that can be carried in a suitcase or on a missiles warhead that use explosives or high-power microwave emitters to generate a disruptive pulse in a similar fashion to the nuclear weapon that we talk about when we talk about high altitude EMPs, except this one is less energetic and much shorter radius. And this is how they explained it from, of course, the EMP task force in that Homeland Security report. The NNEMP, non-nuclear EMP weapons, can be built relatively inexpensively. Pay attention to this, guys. Relatively inexpensively using commercially available parts and design information that's on the internet. EMP simulators that can carry it out and operated by one man and can use an NNEMP weapon are available commercially. So that what they're suggesting here is that these organizations that are funded by Iran, that we talk about them as T groups that are in the north in Lebanon, in the south down in Yemen, and also have ties to Venezuela, and also potentially have been coming across into our country, have this capability. To me, this is not so much, it just is just as important to understand as it relates to the Middle East and what's going on there. And, is there an opportunity for them to do that to Israel? Certainly, that's important. But what's missing from this article is to talk about the fact that it's the same group that has that capability and technology. It's not detectable. It's not nuclear. It can be readily made, and it can have up to a 5-mile radius and be used anywhere. And is that coming across? Are those in backpacks or suitcases, as they call them? That's a great question, and I think we ought to be paying attention to.
And if you can think about how much damage a 5-mile radius, what you can do in a city like New York, a city like Seattle, downtown Seattle, essentially the entire area of downtown, more than that. I mean, I don't even think downtown Seattle is 5 miles long. It might be from tip to tip, but you're talking about you have how many thousands? They are already declaring by the stats 1 out of every 100. Just from Iran, they believe is a sleeper cell. And they have this plan that, of course, T-Man, our former president, took out Soleimani, the guy that they took out in a simultaneous strike. Him and his second-hand right-hand man, they tried to take out both of them because he said that they had an event plan like 2001 that would make that look like chicken feed. The 2001 event would be, yesterday's news compared to what they were having planned. They didn't get that second-hand guy, but even if they did, right, the right-hand man that had all of those plans, that knew all of that, do you think the Ayatollah didn't have that plan on his desk? And do you think he didn't just pass it down? Why are a lot of the people that are in charge of Iran getting taken out? Why are they mysteriously perishing in helicopter crashes or getting taken out with either missiles or pre-planted boom booms? It seems to me like they're taking out pretty much anybody and everybody that would be, that leader position. And you could look at this from the other end. I hear the people that say, well, what if they're not what the Western media says, and this is, backwards and this and that. Even if it was, they're painting us a picture that they're going to eventually finish this painting, and the painting is going to look the same no matter what, because we are the most powerful. And say if they were doing something totally nefarious here and to the rest of the world, it's still going to look like what they're painting. Even if it's not the motivations, or if it's completely backwards and we're sleeping, basically, we don't know exactly what's happening. A big event is here. It's right there. I mean, you can see it, the framework going up across the planet. Everybody is picking a side. They've already picked sides. We've talked about this for years. Now we're here. These NN-EMP devices, again, non-nuclear EMP devices, are something that everybody should be paying attention to. These can be portable. And anybody could, end up taking this into, any kind of event. This isn't something that would hurt the people. It would go off, all of a sudden the power's gone. They could hit centers with a ton of infrastructure, with power, water, all of this, knock it out instantly. Not to mention, there can be multiple people placed in what would you need for every city? Every big city, what is the biggest city you could even see? And I know, New York by population and stuff, but what is the longest city? What would you need? 4, 5, 6 people? How big is the biggest city from point to point? 30, 40, 50, 80 miles? I don't know. But how many people would you need? You would need less than a handful, less than a dozen for possibly the biggest city in the country. Dex, go ahead.
I mean, imagine one of these guys rolls up the Hudson and shoots one off over, and we're not talking about high tech here, right? We're just talking about shooting something up in the sky above, say, Manhattan. And what would that do to Wall Street if all of a sudden, lower Manhattan, which is a financial district in New York, where Wall Street and everything else is all without power and all, frozen in time, so to speak. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would be hugely devastating to the financial sector, and it would have all sorts of ramifications for God knows how long in our economy. I mean, that's a scary thought, and that's easy. It's a boat ride. It's like get on a, on a boat and run up there, and this stuff is not huge. It is very minor tech that they're talking about.
Yeah, available on the internet. You can easily get it. Again, the parts. If there was a pamphlet that used to be up, I don't know if you guys ever saw the cookbook. If you know Anner, cook, things like that. There was a version that was going around in 2021 during CV. A lot of people ended up digging into crazy stuff during that period because everybody was at home. There was one thing that went around that I didn't even want. People were like sharing it. People were like I didn't even want any part of it. This thing was absolutely insane. All of the things that people could do just with our current capability of people could go through, the dark net, get this kind of stuff. It's pretty terrifying thinking that we need to wait for some boats and paratroopers and drop ships to drop up for our country to be hit. We all think that there's just so much protection here, but really when it comes down to it, we're looking at National Guard and possibly police. If you look at any big event like Hurricane Katrina, they haven't been there. I mean, like there's people that just fall through the cracks left and right. In Hurricane Katrina, it took like 5 days to get water to the Superdome. I mean, it's like events like this really show you, or events like that showed you that they don't have the best plans in place. They have whole departments devoted to all of these plans. And of course, there's something that's always unplanned for. When I went to, FEMA, and I Region 10, and I saw that gentleman said, well, look behind us. We don't have the stuff. We're going to have to get out-of-state help. It's like that kind of thing. During a big disaster, and that's just a regional disaster, they don't have the capability or plans for half of this. They don't have a plan for a nationwide event. And now they're saying that one is being planned and that one is possibly coming closer to of course, pick the Pres Day. How is that going to go? And now they're specifically putting this out. We have told you guys for years. We've been telling you guys about this for literally years. This is why we've recommended things like EMP Shield. So if you guys haven't checked those out, go over and check them out. You can protect yourself. If everybody had this, if this was code, if you had EMP Shields, code by the United States, like if every house had to have it, just like they have to have running water. If you rent a house, it has to have an EMP Shield, running water, electricity, anything like this. It would start getting put in all over. If they made this code into making cars and manufacturing cars, this would not be an issue. But of course it's not. Meanwhile, the United States government, agencies like DHS, DOD, they are calling up companies. EMP Shield in specific has worked with both of those. So again, if you do want to protect yourself against this kind of thing, you can actually protect your vehicles, which I think is most important. If you want to get home to your family or get out to bug out, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This not only gets you a huge $50 off discount per device, so if you have multiple cars that you have to outfit, or you want to do a car, a generator, solar generator, your home, motorhome, motorcycles, whatever it may be, you can do so. And now they have the micros, so that basically anybody that was like, oh, well, it was too big for, my motorcycle or this or that. Now they have the micro. It's all the same stuff, but in about a quarter of the size. It's a few bucks more, and it's totally worth it if you couldn't fit the original in, which isn't big in itself already. But it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before an EMP or a Carrington-level event from the sun is able to fry your device. That way you're getting home to your family. We do believe if any of these EMP events happen or a Carrington-level event from the sun happen, this is going to save lives. All of the affiliates that we do, yes, it's awesome that it not only will it support us, but this is also going to protect you, and of course it's helping our channel at the same time. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. You're actually getting something physical out of it. You're not just giving away your hard-earned money. You're actually buying something at a discount and helping independent media. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARV. We've been talking about this for 5+ years, and now we're all closer to these crazy events, and now we see the world has divided. To look back 5 years and to see what countries were closely working together compared to now, you can clearly see that everyone has signed treaties. Everyone has picked a side. This is what's happening. And then China reacts as NATO warships plan close pass to Chinese coast. So, mind you, all of these passes, Japan coming close to the South China Sea. You have, of course, Germany pushing in for the first time. Again, on Monday, China warned Germany not to endanger its sovereignty following a report from Berlin that Berlin would dispatch warships to a contested waterway off of the country later this month. The German magazine Der Spiegel reported on Saturday that Germany, a NATO member, would arrange for the frigate Baden-Württemberg and the replenishment ship Frankfurt am Main to transit the Taiwan Strait during their mid-September voyages from South Korea to Indonesia. China respected the navigation rights enjoyed by all countries in accordance with Chinese law and international law, said Mao Ning. But she referred to the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea of UNCLOS. Beijing opposes the provocation and endangerment of China's sovereignty and security by relevant countries in the name of freedom of navigation. The 110-mile-wide Taiwan Strait separates mainland China to the west of the island of Taiwan to the east. It says China views the self-ruled China-Taiwan as breakaway as part of theirs, and Beijing claimed its jurisdiction over the waterway where it deployed military aircraft and warships operating near Taiwan daily as a show of force, while the United States and Western allies advocate that the narrow strait is part of international waters. So they're never going to see eye to eye on this. You have Germany doing this for the very first time. Dex, when you have somebody like Germany that's popping through the Taiwan Strait, one little accident can be, a huge escalation. It's like, I guess, why are they even doing it? Are they doing it to prove a point? Some said, why did they even do it? Is it part of kind of a message?
Well, it's two parts, in my opinion. One, it's because we left. We left the hole wide open, so we got to get everybody else to go over there and cover the spot for us. We're no longer covering the man, so to speak, in that territory, because we're sitting over in the Middle East. We don't have a carrier group there. It's wide open.
Before you move on, think about that. What if it's not? So I just saw an article. We didn't cover it. Did I send you that one? It's an article talking about how one of our ships, one of our big naval ships, hasn't seen any action in 6 years, and 4 of the years or something it was being repaired or delayed. But my point is, like, what if our Navy really is to the point where if we've got something big going off on the Middle East, which might be the point or the plan, we can't cover areas like this. And like you said, Germany and others have to go in because they're like, hey, we can't cover both. Is this why they're doing studies? The Pentagon has said that if we are fighting more than one peer-to-peer adversary, why China's done the same, Russia, they all say that if the U.S. is fighting more than one peer-to-peer adversary, like China and Russia at the same time, that is the only way that we might lose.
It makes total sense. Look, we're engaged in Europe, but we're not engaged with the Navy. I mean, they're there, but it's not like we're firing. It's not like we're launching. Okay. But we're poised to launch and fire in the Middle East, and we've got nothing sitting in the South China Sea. So if we can't even cover 3 territories, that should tell you, or 3 major areas, that should tell you things are kind of weak in the bigger picture, at least for what they present to the public. I mean, unless there's some other thing that we just don't know. And I know everybody hopes and believes that there's all this great tech that we got that we just don't know about and we don't publicize, but it doesn't feel real good, in my opinion, to look that, we've shoved everything into the Middle East. And, if Europe kicked off now, we would then have to reposition because we're not even engaged right now and we don't have enough in Europe, let alone China. So yeah, and then the flip side is, the other part to this reason why we see Germany and other NATO members in Asia is to get that whole notion of the Pacific NATO, as they call it, or the Asia NATO, as they call it, going. And by the more presence they can get from these other NATO members into the Pacific, the more they can start to normalize that. So those are probably the 2 fronts. But man, the fact that we're not there, it screams, hey, we need some ships to come through here, please, so that we can show a presence, even though we can't be here.
So, and then also go over the North Korea slams U.S., quote, nuclear threat.
Well, North Korea, of course, always got to say something, but they're on Sunday accusing the U.S. of posing a nuclear threat to the country after Washington and its security treaty ally South Korea conducted a simulation exercise. So the Foreign Ministry in Pyongyang said that U.S. and South Korea conducted this exercise that was based on a nuclear war scenario. It slammed the 2 allied countries for treating the North as the threat in their scenario. But why wouldn't we? They're the ones that are threatening the nukes all the time. So this is just hyperbole coming from them. But I guess the main point is you look at it and say, okay, we'll also look at the fact that the U.S. and South Korea did a simulated drill on nuclear war because they expect it to happen from Kim. And, we've talked about this a lot, whether it be nuclear or non-nuclear from Kim. We still think, and I still believe, that he's going to be, sort of a pawn for either Russia or China, more likely China, as they want to go in and reclaim Taiwan. They will have Kim engage in the South and distract the U.S.
Yeah, he'll be the trigger for the bigger weapon. I think North Korea is going to be the puppet, and they are going to be the thing that starts off the big kahuna. The Middle East, I think then the Middle East would do this big thing. I think that the Middle East might even be preparing and planning and coordinating with China, with Russia, with Iran for their big kind of events. Take Taiwan. Iran does an attack on Israel. You've got Russia doing some huge, massive push into Ukraine, possibly even into Europe if it gets to the worst point. And then, of course, you've got Venezuela will take Guyana. Now they have that president for 4 more years or however many years they do their presidency for. And I'm probably missing one. And you have other parties that will jump in as well. All right, and then thank you, Kat. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your support. And Tosha says, much love, Foogle fam. Well, thank you. Let's do a quick roll call while we're all here. Zadizia, what is going on? Alan G, Poco Loco. Let's see here. We've got Saren, thank you. Let's see here. Jay Walker, nice to see you. Tiger13us. Trevor, what is happening? Drummondson Live, nice to see you. Colby Wilson, K. Parker Frazier, Harley Berg. We got K. Parker Frazier from Ohio. What is happening? What was that? Is that Arkansas? And then we've got New Mexico. We've got North Texas, Robert Rodriguez. Hey, what's going on? Faith Parent. We've got Kurt Burksdale, Jessup, Maryland. We've got NorCal in the house. Of course, our wonderful mod, Ilea. See here, think. We've got Dwayne Roberts from Indiana. We've got, of course, Connecticut in the house, Gem Cat. And we've got Poco Loco. Again, thank you. Fermi Paradox, Bobby Sue. And we have Wages World. We have a great crew of mods in the house. And then West Virginia Hillbilly in the house. That's awesome. Wisconsin, James Odinson. Nice to see you, Tony Hamby. We've got Oklahoma in the house, retired police officer. I've looked at Oklahoma lately. I know you guys got your tornadoes, but we have some family and extended family in Oklahoma, and man, the house prices have actually stayed reasonable there. It's crazy, and you guys have still have reasonable prices on things. At least that's what I'm being told. And then Shastina, Cork City, Ireland, Doberlord, nice to see you, Harley Berg, and of course, thank you, Trevor, nice to see you as well. And then Hill Valley, nice area. And then Summer Warhurst and J-Pass. Thank you guys. All right, and then we have Romania and Latvia confirm incursions by Russian drones into NATO airspace. We've got Latvia and Romania, two member countries of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, said that Russian drones violated their airspace over the weekend in a move that could stoke boiling hot tensions between Moscow and the military alliance. Now, I don't know what's happening on the low here, but when you have these drones going over their airspace, this has been talked about multiple times, especially with Poland. And Poland has even said, hey, we might actually take these down or missiles if they come over our place, even if it's for a couple seconds. And that's been a huge deal. Well, now I feel like this is the setup for Latvia and Romania to do the same or to say the same and ask for different help or different equipment than they may already have. Latvia's government said Sunday a Russian drone had fallen over the east of the country the previous day, likely crossing in from Belarus. Separately on Sunday, Romania's foreign ministry said that, quote, criminal Russian airborne drones encroached on its airspace while targeting Ukraine's civilian infrastructure. Mircea Giona, the outgoing Deputy Secretary General of NATO and Romania's former top diplomat, said that the military alliance condemned Russia's violation of Romanian airspace. It says, while we have no information indicating an intentional attack by Russia against allies, these acts are irresponsible and potentially dangerous. Article 5 of NATO stipulates that if a NATO country is attacked, all member nations will come to its defense. So again, when you look at this, obviously the media wants to portray any event and they go, this could trigger Article 5. Really, we're waiting for something much bigger than when these things happen. But what I feel like these stories are the framework or the setup for something to happen later down the road. Not even saying it's intentional, but they use events like this to be able to set up their own defense, or if they do have to act, they're setting up a backstory so they can be justified if they have to start something bigger. I feel like they know that a bigger war is coming. That's why all of these same places are putting up dragon's teeth along all of the borders of Russia and Belarus. Whether they are the instigators or not, whether, Russia is actually planning to do it or not, they're setting up the story. They're setting up the back of our minds to think that this is about to happen. So, who knows if there's a goal to have it happened. And again, they're saying these things in all of the same countries. It's like the same story, but all of the NATO members, one at a time, comes out in one piece after another. Dex, do you get what I mean by that? Like it seems like, every country has had the same story tweaked, and then we're basically reporting the same thing happening, but in a new NATO member nation.
Yeah, totally. And that's exactly what I thought when I heard it. It's like, it's the same story we've heard, but let's just add more members to it. The more we add to it, the more they can start to cry as it's a big deal. And the more we'll start to sympathize and say, okay, well, that's, that we should allow them to shoot him down or whatnot. And we'll start to see that type of messaging. That's certainly part of it. Adam, we do have confirmation from Russian media, and I put it in up next if you want to grab it, about the event that's unfolding in Moscow, at least their version of it. But getting back to this point on these drone incursions, the other comment that was made in here is spot on, and that was that this could be used to test Article 5. And when you think about that, when you think about how China has constantly pressure tested Taiwan, they would come across the median line almost daily, and they still do it. They do it all the time, and they have to scramble. And then they watch and they see, how did they scramble? Where did they come from? What did they learn? They, being China, learn about Taiwan's response. It does two things. It gives China tons of information so that when the real event goes down, they can see how they're going to react. And it also stresses Taiwan. There is nothing that there certainly could be an argument that says that, hey, making these drones sort of veer into NATO territory could be by design. Let's see how they scramble. Let's see how often they do it. Let's see if they actually respond or do anything, so that when the time comes, we'll know how to better prepare an attack against NATO from Russia's point of view. That certainly could be the case.
And as far as every member state, we have covered the same story time and time again, and it just keeps expanding. It seems like they don't want to just fast roll out this huge change across all of NATO, because it really becomes apparent what's happening. But if it's done, every day there's one little event happening, and these all add up. These are all permanent changes to NATO countries. In this case, it is the setup for a permanent change. I feel like everything that's happened with the Russian-Ukraine thing is like they talk about it first, then it ends up happening. Almost everything they've asked for, it ends up being given. Everything that they have, chatted about, like, France and other countries saying, well, hey, people of the public, we might have to send our own brothers and sisters and daughters and sons here very soon here, and we got to be ready for that. These are the things that I feel like they're going to happen. They're setting it up for the public. When they incrementally add things in any scenario, say if you're sitting in a room, if you're in a test room or something, and they gradually increase the heat every day 1 degree, people will adjust to it. People, for example, when summer first hit here and we were having 80-degree days, 80 to me felt like 100 degrees because I live in Seattle. I'm in a place that's always cold. 80 degrees for me is hell. Sweating my butt off. But after about 2 or 3 weeks of it, it was 80 in my house, and that was cool to me compared to the outside. I adjusted to it. Any human being, if they live in an area like that, they adjust after a period of time. Well, it's the same with information. When they do this gradually, people adjust to it. Heck, if you look at every violation of our rights, if they do it in little tiny pieces, it just happens, and then you fast forward yourself 2 or 3 years, and you're like, wait, we can't even do that anymore. Heck, now they're watching, they're monitoring all of these things that happened, and they kind of gradually rolled out, and they told us years before we found out, like, hey, they might be listening to you, they might be doing this. There was always the theories, and people got so used to the idea by the time it was told to us, nobody cared. We all knew. When something comes out and you say, oh, well, I already knew that, that's what they want. I think World War III is a lot the same. And then let's go to this update. So we do have a confirmation from Moscow. At least 14 drones were shot down by air defense, and this is according to Russia. So again, this is TASS. Were taken down by air defense forces during an attempt to attack Moscow and the Moscow region. A 9-year-old was perished. They're quick to report. This is in the last couple hours, and they were quick to report that less than a 10-year-old perished. and another person was injured. The effects of the fall of the UAV fragments in the area, Houthi airport, are being eliminated. That to me, I don't know. Maybe that's how it's translated. Several dozen UAVs were destroyed in other regions of Russia. There were no reports of casualties there. So, and Dex, this is from their side.
If they wanted to,
minimize.
this is from their side. But if they wanted to, if one of those drones actually made it in and hit its target, they're going to say the same thing. They're just going to say, "Oh yeah, our air defenses took them down, and maybe there was some side effects from the fragments that fell to the ground." Right? But it's you got to read between the lines on here. They would never admit that they were hit. Now, we don't know. We've just seen the videos. There's some, evidence that may look like it could be, hits, but it could also be fragments falling down. Who knows?
Or it could be older videos. It takes a few days for these things to actually be confirmed. In this case, normally you don't have Russia confirm it at all if they don't want it to be known. You'll have the Western nations or Western media tell us that something happened, but you'll never get a confirmation out of Russia if they don't want to put it out there. And even if there is videos out there, they'll claim, well, these are fake videos, or that they're this or that. Now, at this point, we really can't believe anything. We have to prepare for what we think. Even if they had proof of everything and they showed us video, at this point, now AI can do anything. So really, what is the point of having video evidence or all of this? Like, there could be 50 channels on Telegram that show us buildings in Moscow endangered. I think the big problem in the future, especially, there's a certain part of our community that doesn't believe anything above us is actually going on. Well, how are you going to ever prove that unless that person actually goes up there and sees for themselves? Because at this point, if they show you any kind of video, people can just go, well, that could be faked. And really, there's no experts now that can really tell you, like, oh, well, I verified it by this and this and that. Do you remember when there used to be video experts that would look at a video and go, no, this is not a forgery? Now, that's like almost impossible. With today's technology, who's to tell if it's professional or not? Maybe right now you'll be able to tell because AI might add an extra finger, and if you catch that, then you go, oh, that's a fake video. But at this point, if it's something like a building or something it can do well, it's like anything can be faked right now. Voices can be faked. Audio clips, if they have a voice message that, that can be faked. That can be faked perfectly at this point. Unless there's tags in the thing, you won't know. And I'm sure the CIA and all of those agencies have versions without those audio tags. But yeah, so very, very crazy. And that is now somewhat confirmed. We'll see what Western media says about those attacks. But if it's true that the 9-year-old perished, you can bet that's going to tug the heartstrings of everybody in Russia, just as if it would if a 9-year-old in Ohio or something was taken out by a strike by Russia. Would we not all be red in the eyes and be calling for revenge? We would be calling on our local gov and our main gov to do a strike back. So think about that part too. And then, Dex, do you want to go over the Houthi rebels claim they took down another millions of dollars MQ-9 drone?
Yeah, break out the checkbook. There's $30 million gone, taxpayers. So according to the Houthis, they're saying that they've taken down an MQ-9 drone flying over their country. This happened on Sunday. That's a $30 million drone from the U.S. And they're claiming it. The U.S. military told the AP it was aware of the claim, but has received no reports of American military drones downed in the area. So it could be owned by a friend or ally of the U.S. because it's U.S. made. But who knows? We'll find out, or it may go away. It's sort of one of those things. If they don't want to talk about it, they don't talk about it. But this is the claim being made by that group, and they have downed one of these before. I think they've downed a couple of these so far over the past year or so now. So there you go.
And it would seem by now that they've probably been able to reverse engineer any kind of high-tech stuff that we've had in these things. Because if you've seen pictures of the new kind of the Iranian drones and some of the other Middle Eastern-made drones. They're starting to look exactly like ours. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. If you are somebody who takes medications or you're a caregiver for somebody who does, this is a really good service. Again, most people go with the Jace case, and that's an extremely helpful thing. The Jace case has all of the most commonly used antibiotics. It's a kit that basically has all of that on lock for you. So then you have a case. If something goes down, there's no hospitals, there's no power, there's no pharmacies, then you say you get a tiny cut on your finger instead of course, being a funeral, which something like that could turn into if it gets bad enough and you don't have it treated, it will be taken care of. As far as the Jace case, that's what most people end up going for. And again, that's an affordable way to grab yourself something. You go on a telehealth appointment. You can do it from your couch, talk to a board-certified doctor, and get it right to your door. But another thing is the Jace Daily, and it's a big deal as far as being able to get up to a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds. Go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace to learn more, and just use the code MARV when you check out, and you'll end up not only getting a discount, but you'll end up helping our channel at the same time. I would think that most people, especially if you live in an area that has disasters like tornadoes, like hurricanes or earthquakes, this would be something you might want to look at anyways. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. It could be a long scale, power outage, something like a blackout in California. I mean, some places went as long as 8 or 9 days. It could be something like that. So, you don't have to be preparing for the end of the world. This could be for something where just circumstances end where, who knows, you might be out of insurance or something at a point in the near future. Who knows what's going to happen? Again, but it's a really great thing. And again, this is another service that potentially, depending on what happens, could save your life as well. And then new report sounds alarm on China's role in destroying U.S. families with the deadly drug destabilizing crisis. Now, you guys probably know which one this is. That Fen. Dex, do you want to go over what the heck's going on here?
So there's a new report coming out, and it's basically trying to talk about the fact that there's not a lot known about China's role in this outside of just the broader finger pointing. Most people, as they describe it, say that it's an issue with Mexico and that Mexico is using Chinese precursors to make this stuff and then bring it in. But what they're actually arguing is that indeed that the CCP is actively funding and supporting and pushing this into America, and that their combined forces with the cartels in Mexico they've done that specifically to do this, to help destabilize and create a problem in America. That's what they're suggesting in this report. It's very detailed about how they're doing it, and they're trying to highlight the fact that we need to be looking further into the actual role that is played by the Chinese government in this problem. And if you think about it, what this problem is doing, when you, if and I think we've used this example before, if we went to a conflict tomorrow and lost the number of people in that conflict that we lose every year in our country to this, it's staggering. It's an unimaginable amount of people that are being lost due to this crisis. It's imagine a country being able to fire one shot, so to speak, and wipe out hundreds of thousands of people. Well, that's exactly what's happening, and they're doing it, without having to actually go to conflict, and they're doing it and funneling money out at the same time. And that's what's kind of scary when you think about how something like this can actually be orchestrated and designed with a specific intent.
In 2021 alone, over 107,000 Americans perished of overdoses, the highest total ever recorded. Again, 71,000 of those 2021 perishings involved synthetic, primarily the fen. So this is something that has torn up cities. Now, because of the stuff that was going on in Aurora, I think this is why a lot of stuff is popping up about Seattle. And a lot of people are posting videos of Aurora Avenue. And I can see why. Like, all the big conservative Twitter accounts are posting these videos of basically women walking on Aurora Avenue here in Seattle. If you live in Seattle, you can do a shout out. What's funny is it's not funny. It's a horrible thing, but it's been like that for like 20, 30 years. Since I was a kid, that street has been horrible. It is worse now. I mean, it's bad. I mean, you straight up have women walking around like they're in the club, only they're just straight up on the street. There's schools that are on that street, and they are walking in front of them. Up in Shoreline and 105th and Aurora is like the worst. But you also see in some of these clips, you'll see people in the doorways that are just out, and it's like every single day. Somebody I know that does this program where they volunteer to go and they try to help people get either substitute stuff or Narcan for the people that are perishing from this stuff. They have volunteered giving food, sandwiches, all sorts of things. They said they have never seen so many people in the doorways, sleeping bags. We've all seen it. Of course, homeless in downtown areas in most of the big cities. You see that happening all the time, but usually they're just sleeping. What they're saying is that they're finding more people just basically perishing right there, and they don't make a big deal out of it. It's never covered how many of these people are sleeping overnight and, doing the stuff and just perishing. There's people perishing every day. And then there's women walking by at the same time getting picked up. I mean, like, it's a horrible strip. But you look at that and you say, oh my gosh, what's happening to Seattle? This has been happening for a long time. And it's honestly, it's been a problem. But it's never been a problem that has compounded on top of other things. Like people... straight up dead people sitting behind somebody. Like a guy is picking up a woman in front of somebody who's just literally on the street dead. We're in a bad place right now. And people say that it's exaggeration to say that places in the United States are turning into, third world type conditions. It is happening. If you think it's not, then you're putting your head in the sand and you're avoiding these areas. And what's crazy is a lot of people are avoiding areas. I mean, there's pretty much all of you probably know a place in your city. You're like, I don't go through there. There are some people that say, I don't even drive through there, right? I remember when I was a kid, one of my friend's dad actually ended up saying, like, he wouldn't pick us up because we were in a bad area. I've told that story before. Basically, his dad was... He was the real R word. He wouldn't pick them up because of the quote N people there. Like, that's there's like that. And then there's like, I won't pick them up downtown Seattle because of how bad it is down there. Now there's people that are just doing it because of the crime. I mean, like, it's insane. It really is the worst it's ever been because of this stuff. And I'm just surprised. And they're making it like a taboo subject. A lot of the subjects like this, you can't even say the F word, and it's not the other one. It's this one, without getting some sort of hit. They're making it like it's derogatory or something. It's really, really, really insane how bad it is. Most of you know, though, if you live in a big city, then you've probably been to a Walmart parking lot. You've probably been to a downtown area. It's the worst it's ever been. And then shocking number of Brits opting to live in Vlad's Russia, leaving woke West behind. Dex, so I know that we covered that he said, basically, if you want to leave your woke country behind, now you can go there.
Yeah, so this is funny on two fronts, in my opinion. One, the fact that that's the narrative, but then two, the shocking number is 17. Maybe it's shocking because it's not as many people as one might think, but on one hand, they're acting like it's a shocking number of people opting to leave when they're just saying, hey, only 17 people from Scotland have actually been in touch with the Russian embassy to inquire about the fast track residence permits. So If 17 people is a shocking number, I guess it depends on which kind of shock you're looking for. But nonetheless, they're talking about it, and it's one of those things that we did cover. He did put it out there. He did say, hey, folks that want to run away from the ideals that are being pushed in the West and looking for a different type of morality should look to Russia, and they would welcome them in. And that's the program. So, but apparently 17 people are going for it. I don't know if that's, I don't know. What's your thought on 17, Adam?
Well, I mean, yeah, as far as I'm actually I wonder if the number is actually different than what they're saying. But again, 17 people from Scotland have been in touch with the Russian embassy to inquire. It's like, as far as this goes, you would think that thousands would, but I think most people think this is actually a joke. And then, of course, a lot of the people that are, they're also connecting other things, previous things from different posts that were really big during 2020. There's a lot of people that are saying that this is all predicted. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I think people actually wondered if this was like a serious thing, and I do believe there's probably a lot more people that are, actually thinking about it, but then wondering if it's a real thing. And how would that work? Can you just leave your life behind, right? Highly doubt it. Don't think it would be better there than it is here in a lot of ways. Obviously, people see the clean streets and this and that. I'm sure there's a trade-off. But what do you guys think? Have you ever lived in Russia? What is it actually like there? Have you lived there recently? Have you been there for any extended amount of time? Is it really as great as Tucker made it out to be? I'm sure the groceries are affordable, but does that come with a huge hitch? And then,
well, would you turn into, if people did this, would they turn into potential pawns to be traded for, other Russians that are jailed in the West that they want out, like we've seen with other higher profile people, whether they're basketball players or journalists, but even a military,
what if you get drafted? If you move there, for 2 weeks, you're like, oh, this is awesome. I'm only spending $100 for groceries. Look at this. I got a full cart. And they're like, by the way, you're going to have to bring that full cart of groceries with you to the recruitment center. We need you. Uncle Vlad needs you. And
to the front lines.
Front lines. Yeah. You're going to go fight your NATO buddies over there. And then watch, when you go to surrender with the white flag, they'll go the numbers of the people on the front line of how fast that they're perishing. Do you remember that? Both sides were horrible. It was like the average person stays on the front lines for like 9 days or something before they perish. It was worse on the Ukrainian side. It was like 9 days on the Ukrainian side, like 13 days on the Russian side. So no thanks. But what would you do? Would you go there if it really is as good as they say? Not for me. And then landlord agrees to sell Colorado apartment complex at the center of the Venezuelan gang problem. Now, there's multiple places. This guy was basically going to get all of these fines. He's still getting, I think, $60,000 of fines. But he's getting out of some crazy serious stuff because he's basically saying, well, I'll just sell it. This smells something fishy 10 times over. Basically, this landlord owned the apartment complex or multiple that these guys took over, and they were trashed. Well, there was all of these kind of code things that were wrong. There was trash. He has to clean it up. He has to pay for it to be cleaned up. Well, this whole thing, right? He says that he ended up telling the police, and the local police knew about this for a year that it was going on. So this also tells us that if this is true, that this has been going on for a much longer time than what they think. And essentially, they said that they are agreeing to basically sell or lease the property and, among other things, pay up to $60,000 of the costs to clean up and secure the complex. So when they say clean up and secure, what do they need to pay for, a SWAT team or something? Are they What do they mean by secure it? And then how bad is the cleanup that it needs $60,000 worth of costs to clean it up? Is that to also fix the appliances that they trashed or they battered down the doors? I mean, Dex, the crazy part about this is he's basically being forced to sell it or be in a worse position. This seems like it's part of a cover and an
It
up.
is, and if there's any truth to his point, and his point is that, hey, it got this way because the takeover had happened, and he had tried to work with the police to solve it, and even offered to hire them to work as security at his location, and they said no, they wouldn't do it. They didn't have enough resources to deal with it. So if his side, and mind you, you know, in every story, there's two sides and then there's the truth somewhere in the middle. But even if you take a little bit of his and a little bit of the other side and you put it together, it still sounds like a bad problem going on with these organizations that are coming in and doing this. And whether it was over the course of a year or if it just happened last week, which I don't think it did, it sounds like this has been going on. It's getting worse and worse, and this is coming to every major city in America.
Yeah, and they're saying that the alleged takeover started last year in 2023. And here's another part that I forgot to mention in the short show. The property's landlord also inquired about hiring off-duty police officers to provide security for the property, a request that the Aurora Police Department reportedly declined. I wonder why. When they put a green light out for these guys to take out the police officers, what off-duty cop wants to go there on off-duty and sit there and protect this place? Maybe that's why they declined. Maybe they were like, hey guys, can any of you do this? They were like, I'm fishing that weekend. We've got a pre-planned vacation that we just found out about 2 minutes ago. Okay, buddies. Retired police officer in chat, would you want to go do this for? I don't know how much those gigs pay, but I'm assuming, can you get overtime by doing that? Like, is it worth it to do those kind of jobs, especially in these kind of conditions? And how much is it? You know, how much is it to hire an off-duty cop? I would bet it's pretty expensive. I mean, the only places we see this happening is really like very few, nightclubs sometimes, and I don't know if sometimes that's just for the city's paying for it, or we see it at like Walmart or places like that, or does Walmart usually pays for that, right? Or at a zoo or someplace, a big venue, or a venue like a stadium. They have a bunch of money. So, I mean, it's got to be expensive to do that, to have basically a police officer there at all times. But yeah, this says to me that obviously it is happening. The lawyers even claimed that it had been forcibly taken control, and now they're still arguing whether it was taken control. This is United States of America, and we have chunks of our cities being forcibly taken over, and nothing is being done. That's insane to me, and it should be insane to you. If you want to share this portion of this show with your friends and family, we did a separate video that goes over all of the most important Aurora stuff, the updates on that, over on our other channel over on Marfoogle TV. I do want to say another thank you. Thank you to Kat. Thank you again. Thank you, Tosha. Thank you, Stephen McMahon. I appreciate your support. And then Genius by Birth. Thank you this week. Again, Carol, Low T in the Vintage, Juby Joe, Ezekiel R, Carlton Sutton, Olga Turan, Carol, Craig Alicious, 33 Avon 88. Thank you guys. And UFO Disclosure TV. I appreciate your support last week. And then big shout out to all of our wonderful mods. Make sure to go check out their channels over on marfooglenews.com/friends. Dex, again, thank you for your help as well tonight. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Much love, brother. And rest in peace, James Earl Jones.
Oh,
the force be with you.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a tough one. His voice is irreplaceable. And then make sure to go check out Energy if you haven't already. If you're looking for a solar generator, go over and get one of the Energy Flex Tacticals. This is our recommendation. It's the same generator that just won the STTR Phase 2 contract with the U.S. Army. It is tough. It is absolutely one of the best generators ever made, in my opinion. It's modular, which means you can add bricks just like Legos in and change the overall form or function of it. It's also expandable, so you can actually get the main unit, get a battery, then you can end up adding batteries over the years. You can buy 1, 2, up to 96 batteries. So you can have it as portable as you want or as stationary as you want. You can power something anywhere. You can store the power on here and have it ready to go. On a nice sunny day, you can either get the power from your wall, from your car, or you can actually put panels out and get power from the sun. Then it keeps it on it, and then when you need it, your power goes out, switch right over to it. So again, marfooglenews.com/energy, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Thank you everybody for watching today's show. Again, thank you for supporting independent media in general by sharing us out, and hit the notification bell. Subscribe right now if you're not already. If there's any urgent news, it will either be updated here over on our sister channel, Marfoogle TV. If you want to see that short video that we suggest you share with your friends and family, make sure to click here. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the flip side. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Accordingly, or maybe wait and see. We'll be the last ones to leave. Hey, it's almost like it's World War III. Maybe we should plan accordingly, or maybe wait and see. We'll be the last ones to leave. Hey, it's almost like it's World War III. Maybe we should plan accordingly, or maybe wait and see. We'll be the last ones to leave.